This episode is sponsored in part by Dawn Wiggins of the Different D Word and the Dear Divorce Diary podcast.
But then when we have very painful experiences and we don't have time to attend to them because we have to get to work or we have to get the kids to school or because of the millions of pressures we have, we learn how to quote unquote check out. But when that becomes chronic, it actually starts to change our neurology.
This is Parenting Great Kids with Dr. Meg Meeker.
So, Dawn, let's talk about the kids, because one of the things I think that it makes divorce even harder for women is dealing with their kids' grief. And how do they do that? Particularly if you've got a situation where dad just bailed, and he left and he's, across the country or whatever, not interested in being involved with a family. How do you suggest mothers help their kids?
The most important thing a mom can do, and I think it is especially hard to do when moving through divorce, is just be present and curious. Being present is 100% the greatest gift you can give a kid who is struggling. And I think for women who are getting divorced, right, they have all of their own emotional mess going on, their own grief, their own anger and resentment and all of that. And I think we really have a hard time setting that aside to be present for our kids' experience and accepting that our kids are having a very different experience than we as women are having. And kids need their dads. Kids need both parents. Kids need to maintain that attachment and that love for their parents. And I think women, both parents, but especially women, I think we overcompensate by trying to buy things and, throw the best party and do all those things to try to distract our kids. But our kids don't need to be distracted. They need to feel and they need to be able to release and they need to be able to discharge from their nervous systems. They need to be able to express. And when we do all these distraction techniques or we're busy, angry at him, the ex, then we are not being present. We are not encouraging our kids to feel or express. We so often tell our kids not to feel and not to express. And that is poison, because then where are they going to go with all those feelings? It's just going to get shoved down or come out as acting out or behavior or, you name it.
So do you recommend that a parent say, if they can tell that, all kids are going to struggle after divorce, should parents or a mother regularly ask her kids, how are you doing? I know that this is hard for you. Because a lot of times kids can't identify their feelings, particularly if they're 5 or 8. So how do can you give us some practical suggestions for ways that mothers can help their kids tap into what they're experiencing?
Absolutely. And it boils back to being present. And I think for women going through divorce, we tend to disassociate or numb or distract ourselves a lot. I know as a mom, I had trouble when my kid was younger with play, sometimes just playing with her. So I would sit down in her room and I would color with her, do art with her, or ask her if she wanted help doing her chores or cleaning her room or doing things with her. So I think it's about doing things with our kids, especially in the realm of play or art or moving our body. So, if your child is into sports, can you go outside and do physical things with him or her? Can you play with him or her? Can you color or draw? It's side-by-side activity and being really, really, really present and consistently encouraging expression over time. But if you typically are someone who punishes expression or is afraid of your own feelings or afraid of your kids' feelings, then I think we have a lot of discomfort with emotion as a society because we've grown so numb and so disconnected. We struggle when people are feeling big feelings. And that's actually what we really want to encourage with kids. So side-by-side activities, doing things with each other, and they will come out with it. I'm sure most moms relate to the bedtime confessional when you're laying with your kids at night and you're putting them to bed. And once you've been laying there long enough, all of a sudden here it all comes. And it's the same thing throughout the day if you can spend enough concentrated time together doing things with.
I love it. It's so hard, but it's so simple.
I know. And
simple things are so hard.
Because we're overscheduled, we're over-medicated, we're overstimulated, we're over-modernized, right? And so we don't have room for the most basic, simple, free things, right? We'd rather send our kid to a $300 an hour therapist and say, fix him, versus like, no, I have to actually carve out space in my calendar to just be with. And I think that nighttime confessional thing, how it happens like right before they're falling asleep, it's because when they've been laying there long enough and they feel safe, their nervous system downshifts enough for them to feel safe to feel their feelings. And so how can we recreate that at earlier points in the day? How can we do that in the car ride to school in the morning? And I think it's about how we start our mornings. Are we always rushing? Are we always behind because we're always exhausted, right? How can we create safety in our morning routine? How can we create slowness or, in our morning routine? How can we do that, when we're after school and before dinner? And anyway, so I think it's about being mindful about slowing down, connecting, presence. Yeah. So we feel safe enough to feel and safe enough to express.
So you have different programs. You have a different D word, which is a 12-month divorce recovery and healing container program.
Yeah.
And you talk about overcoming chronic negative beliefs and emotional patterns. Can you talk about that? What do you mean by chronic negative? I mean, beliefs. I know because I can tell you what mine are. But if
you can tell me what yours are, yeah.
But talk about the chronic negative, the most common chronic negative beliefs women have.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, when it comes to divorce, especially, it's that I don't matter, or I'm not important, or I'm underneath that, I'm not good enough, or I'm not worth it. Right. It's these,
So
and then that, and that ends up playing out in the way that we select our partners and do life. It's so wild because this from the neurobiology of childhood brain development, that when we're very, very young, those early childhood experiences, they become part of our brain maps, part of our nervous system map. And when we're young, we sort of believe everything we're told till an age, right? Till a point where our top brain starts to develop. And so when we're very young and we're just experiencing life and we're just soaking it all up, and kids are so egocentric. It's so easy to get a negative belief like that caught in our subconscious mind, in our reticular activating system, in our nervous system, especially if our parents worked a lot, or we felt lonely, or we felt isolated, or we felt not prioritized, or whatever it is, or if it was high conflict, or, a million things that can cause a kid to pick up a negative belief like that. And so again, I think we end up reenacting generational themes over and over and over. And then we end up subconsciously picking partners from this place of I don't matter, I'm not worth it, or I'm not good enough. And then life ends up becoming a self-fulfilling prophecy. And so one of the things I'm super passionate about is, yes, helping women break those cycles so that they can live healthy lives. But how can we interrupt this cycle for our children? And I know that it's become wildly popular to talk about interrupting generational trauma and cycle breaking and all of that. But when it comes down to it, I think we really struggle with it when it comes to being present, connecting, expressing, feeling. And I still think as a collective, we're sort of missing the mark around being able to, okay, he triggered me, my kid triggered me, or my ex triggered me. And that's my work to do, to find the strength, the forgiveness, the wellness, the sense of self inside of me to not go down that rabbit hole versus focusing on how I can be well so that my kids can be well. I think a lot of times we think we can fake it with our kids. And you probably see this in your practice, where we think that if I can just manage my emotions and I can just keep it contained and I can just be calm or something like that, then my kids will be okay. But meanwhile, our nervous systems are humming and we're really feeling so much. And I think we're missing the mark as a collective around nervous system discharge and expression versus regulation. I think we're trying so hard to suppress everything, and kids can pick up on that. And I wish more people understood that our attachment styles, whether or not we feel secure in our relationships and whether or not we feel safe in our bodies, which is what a well-regulated nervous system, it mostly feels safe, to be in the body and in the world, that those are the greatest gifts you can give your kids, but you can't give them to your children if you don't have them. If you don't feel safe in the world and in your body, if you are an overthinker and you're chronically stressed and chronically anxious and you have trouble sleeping at night, how are you going to offer your child a well-regulated nervous system? And so I can't say enough about taking all that anger and getting it out of your body, discharging it in healthy ways, so that you're not so distracted by resentment and rage, teaching your kids how to healthy express their anger from their bodies. Whether that means throwing a pillow together. What really upset you today?
Mhm.
Let's throw these pillows. There are so many ways we can help kids be less afraid of their emotions and feel safer in their bodies. And it really is the basic stuff.
But it is basic, but it's hard because here's the problem. If you have women who feel terrible about themselves all their lives because of their history, whatever, and then they go through a divorce, all of those feelings are amplified.
Confirmed, right? It just feels like it just confirms all my greatest fears.
See, I knew I was going to mess up. And now they've got to not only deal with that, they've got to help their kids deal with it. And so that's a pretty loaded thing. So
It's massively
very, so you talk a lot about women and identifying what's going on in their bodies, which is
Yes.
great because then they can go, okay, I'm feeling rage. Okay, I felt this. Okay, I feel horrible about myself, and start to deal with it so they can help their kids deal with it.
Yep.
Talk about how you help a woman feel safe in her body or comfortable with her body. How do you do that if she's filled with rage?
Yeah. Well, that's why I say I'm an integrative healer, because I think that talk therapy doesn't get it done. We can't think ourselves well. We have some of the greats that we've started talking about more often, Gabor Mate, Bessel van der Kolk, some of the MDs that have talked about and written about and researched trauma and the body. So we use a lot of modalities. And I talk about all of these things on my podcast, Dear Divorce Diary, and we implement them all in our healing programs. But it starts with the simplest thing, which is a body scan, right? Where you can close your eyes and just scan from head to toe and notice what you're feeling, what you're experiencing. And if you're feeling or experiencing anything, because a lot of people, when they start doing it, they're not noticing anything because of disassociation. And so when we have disassociation, then we know, oh crap, my mind and my body are disconnected. They're not getting a good feedback loop with each other. And I don't realize how much my subconscious programming is actually running my show.
Okay, let's back up.
Yeah.
So you've talked about two really big things that I think it's really important to unpack a little bit. You talked about taking sort of inventory and what is my nervous system feeling, and my body's sort of dissociated. Okay, I don't know if people, when they're doing it, if they know they're doing it. So basically,
I don't think so.
my body's trying to tell me something, but I'm really not feeling it.
Yes.
And then talking about your nervous system sort of taking over. So are you talking about sort of mindfulness is the first step, or is that so much different from mindfulness?
I think it's a form of mindfulness. What we're talking about, yes, is becoming body aware, because I think moms, especially when we have to pee, we hold it. When we're hungry, we wait, right? It's like these basic things, but that is reinforcing this disassociation, this separating our mind-body awareness, right? But then when we have very painful experiences and we don't have time to attend to them because we have to get to work or we have to get the kids to school, or because of the millions of pressures we have, we learn how to quote unquote check out or compartmentalize or go numb or push it down, all these phrases we use. But when that becomes chronic, it actually starts to change our neurology. We see the long-term effects of trauma creates actual changes in our neurological structure. And it means we're very detached from our true feelings, our true beliefs, our true needs in the body, in the mind, in the spirit. So first things first, right, is to get aware, like, oh, okay, yeah, what is my body saying?
Yeah. And the reason I backed you up is because many of us don't even know what that's like.
And the body,
to be aware and to know, okay, what is happening? What am I feeling? And to just sort of fuse the mind and the heart and the body. Is that hard for women?
I do believe it is. And I think a lot of women don't even realize they have chronic anxiety, right? They're like, oh no, I just am over functioning and I think a lot and I just have a lot of responsibility.
Think a lot. Yeah, I love it. I think a lot. Yeah.
Is there's chronic anxiety, you know? And so I do think it's hard for women. We talk about a lot of somatic techniques on the
Mhm.
podcast, and somatic just means the body, techniques to help integrate the mind with the body. One of my favorites, it's very, very simple, but it helps to create some safety in the body so that you can, and it helps sort of reconnect the mind with the body, is humming.
Oh, I hum all the
So,
time. Drives my husband
yeah,
crazy.
drives
"Oh,
me crazy.
that's
Well,
how
you
the
just tell them,
kids say
right?
it." I said, "Happy people hum." "Well, yeah, but it
Yeah.
annoys me." Now I'm gonna use your words. So,
There you go. There you
okay,
go.
so
Yeah.
this is the kind of stuff you talk on your podcast, Dear Divorce Diary. So keep
Yes.
going.
Yeah. So humming, certain breath works. I think in the beginning, it's keeping it very, very basic. So there is a type of
Mm,
breath work that's called box breathing, where you just inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for
mhm,
4, hold for 4. And this just starts to bring safety and calm to the body mind so that it can feel safe to feel a feeling. When I'm jumping on calls with women, that's how I'll start every call is
mm,
let's take a few breaths together. And it's fascinating just to sit with and breathe together. Then all of a sudden, here come the tears, right? And yeah, yeah. And then the other breath style that I really
mhm,
like that's called a vagal breath, and I learned this from Deepak Chopra, is to make your exhale longer than your inhale. So where you take a nice big inhale, you just a little pause, but then have your exhale be nice and long and slow. Because when we think about our evolution, you can't be running away from the tyrannosaur in prehistoric days
mhm.
and be vagal breathing, right? Where your exhale is nice and long and spacious. So it's just these ways of cueing, of using our bodies in the way they were designed and accessing the things
Mhm.
that they already know to do to cue that it's safe to feel our feelings and to get reconnected. Yeah.
Do you find that after you start and after you've done the breathing, and then some women start to really get in touch with old pain, the pain of divorce,
Yeah.
that they just say, "Okay, I'm done. I'm not moving forward." Do they become very afraid?
Yes, absolutely. I think there's always old pain when there's divorce. It's never just divorce. There's always old pain. And I do see a lot of women. I see women, this is another place where I see women go one of two
Mhm.
directions. I see them shut down and avoid trusting people from there on out. Or I see women sort of compartmentalize all that pain so much, and maybe they have some attachment style issues, like maybe they're anxious
Mhm.
attachers and they can't tolerate singleness. And so they just push all of that old pain down and then they start dating again, anyways. And then we end up with second and third
Yeah.
divorces, and sort of this denial about actually there's a reconciliation or a healing that needs to happen so that you can have a better life, a truly better, more aligned life. Yeah.
How this is a question you probably can't answer, but I ask it anyway.
Whoa, this is my favorite
Yeah,
one then.
okay. Um, what is the average length of time that it takes a woman who's fresh off a divorce, very ugly divorce, her husband left, um, maybe he's got a girlfriend, a lot of anger.
Very
Yeah,
common.
and so if she came into you a week after she got divorced,
Mhm.
about how long? Because you say that the healing takes time, and I can understand why, because of all the complexity of what you're talking about, the
Yeah.
neurologic system, emotional, and so forth. What's the average length of time for somebody who is okay feeling their feelings take to recover? Because you say you have a 12-month program and about
Right.
in divorce recovery. And
Yes.
so go ahead.
So, and we made it 12 months on purpose. There are not a lot of 12-month programs out there. And I do not believe that given the complexities that women can really get better in programs that are 90
Mm-mm.
days or 6 months. And it's why it's an integrative program because we use mind, body, spirit approaches. We use a lot of modalities like somatic techniques, breath work, homeopathy, internal family systems, EMDR. I'm throwing a lot of jargon out there, but these are sort of all of like the hot topics in the mental health space. We use a lot of these different techniques because it takes all of that. And then healing in group is so, so, so powerful. We just kicked off our most recent container, and the very first session is a half-day summit. And by the end of that session, they were all sharing so vulnerably with each other and saying, like, holy crap, we didn't realize the power of being in this room together and seeing each other's pain, how relieving that was going to be. So I think that many women don't actually ever recover from divorce. And that's a bold thing to say, because I think most people rely on things like talk therapy or their maybe their religious institutions or their spiritual practices, but it doesn't go deep enough to heal the old pain. And when you have those negative beliefs programmed and your reticular activating system, which is that part of the brain that like selects, what to believe or what to see or what to notice in the environment, it just keeps reinforcing the old way, the old way, the old way. And so I think many women never truly recover. And I think a woman who uses all these tools that we use, it's still going to take more than a year. But from that year, you're going to have the strongest foundation possible. But I think for many women, it's more like 3 to 5 years to even like really rebuild and get stable and feel like they've got some distance from it.
So, not to discourage women because it's extremely important, but what you're saying is right on. You can't expect that in 3 months you're going to be fine and ready to go on with your life. This is deep stuff. It's complex stuff because you've been talking about the brain and the heart and the body, and I'm sure the cortisol and heart rate and everything like that, because we're very complex people. But what you're saying in your programs is you take the whole person. And you not only take the whole person now, you take the whole person who was 5 years ago, or, going into the depth of what might have been behind all of this when you married this person, which we all kind of know, but we don't want to know.
That's right. That's right. We love the cozy blanket of denial.
It's wonderful. It is just, it's such a great survival mechanism, but it doesn't work.
Yeah.
I mean, over time, it just doesn't work. Yeah. So talk to us about, because I know there are a lot of women who are listening to us and they're going, I get it. I know exactly what you're talking about, but I'm afraid I need to go deeper and I don't know if I can do this. So where do you suggest they start?
Yeah, listening to the podcast, because it's one episode at a time, right? This is seriously the epitome of Rome was not built in a day. And it's a lifestyle shift to start to face the things. And it's really just one episode at a time. There's so much you can do for free with the podcasts and the somatic tools. It is free to stand outside with your feet bare on the ground and put your face in the sun. And it's incredibly grounding and part of the healing journey. And so go put your feet in the grass and your face in the sun, or, if it's winter, like, I don't know, find a way. And then, start with the podcast and start picking up the tools and doing the practices, just one positive choice at a time. And I love what you said about treating the whole person. Like, can you imagine, Dr. Meg, if all of our medicine treated the whole person?
Yeah, no, because you can tell by listening to what you do. You're talking about things that take months and months and months. But a lot of physicians like me, we've got pressures from insurance companies and time, and we just don't have enough time with our patients.
I can't imagine.
And it's and for instance, I don't want to get off topic, but one of my great frustrations, because I see a lot of teenagers who are struggling, we can't get them into any kind of therapist or psychiatrist, anybody.
Because the wait list
is 3 months, okay? And they come in and they're feeling suicidal. And so I can and I'm one of the rare ones that takes time with people. I'll spend an hour with that teenager going through, kind of picking through on a surface level what you're talking about. And I realize they're suicidal, and my options are I either send them to an inpatient program for a week, and then as soon as the physician hears, okay, I won't try to commit suicide when I go home, out they go. Well, it doesn't do anything. And so you really are, my partner and I were just talking about this. All we have to offer is our the little bit we know about psychology or medication. And
Yeah.
it's just really hard. So let's go into some. I didn't mean to get sidetracked, but it's
No,
one
I
of my
think it's
great
important what you're
frustrations.
saying.
It's one of my huge
I have
frustrations
an
because my back's against the wall.
Yeah, that's right. And I relate to that. I have an entire episode on the podcast actually about suicidal ideation, whether it's the, woman getting divorced or her ex or her kid. It's an episode I'm incredibly proud of because it's such a complex issue. And I think there is so much more we can do, but you're talking about a system that's already profoundly
Yes.
overwhelmed. I'm going to just mention here, one of my favorite books is Impossible Cure, The Promise of Homeopathy, because it gets into how we can heal mental health issues using homeopathic medicines. And I know that's a really alternative approach, but I will tell you the miracles I have seen in helping people specifically in what you're
Mhm.
describing when your back's against the wall and you're like, what else
So
can I
what?
do?
Yes,
So
specifically what homeopathic? Well, I don't know what to call them. I don't want to call
I
them
know
that.
there are thousands of remedies and you have to match the remedy to the person. And so you really need to work with a practitioner, which I am. And there are many out there. And I just say this, just to put a little seed here for parents who are listening that are struggling with this, because I think actually it's a growing epidemic, and praise for you bringing it up. Because we have kids who are on multiple antidepressants now and then they're still feeling suicidal. And so where do we go from here as a society? And so I'm just putting that book recommendation there just so that people know that there are additional solutions.
And don't give up. And it's very
That's
complicated.
right.
And work with us. We're doing the best we can do. you know,
Right.
yes, we're doing the best. So let's talk about specific modalities. Many people have heard of EMDR. What is it and how does it
Mhm.
work?
Yeah. So it is really a trauma recovery approach that was discovered or developed by Francine Shapiro back in the 80s. And she was she was taking a walk in the park one day and she was sort of ruminating on something painful she had experienced in her life, as she often
Mhm.
did. And all of a sudden she felt a state change, something shift in her body and in her emotional awareness. Like all of a sudden, this thing that she was sort of chronically struggling with, it like got lighter and it like went away in a moment. And she was so fascinated that she had that release. She went back and like analyzed what was I doing? What happened? And what she ended up figuring out was that it was this thing called bilateral stimulation. And so this has become very popular on YouTube or like on mindfulness apps. You can listen to bilateral tracks. Walking is bilateral. In EMDR, it's the eye movement, the side to side of the eyes, which we also do when we're sleeping in REM sleep, right? The eyes go back and forth. So we know we're processing at a deeper level. So in EMDR therapy, when you properly activate a painful old memory, which means you have to be able to feel it. And a lot of people can't feel their painful old memories because of disassociation and numbness. But when you can feel it and we add bilateral stimulation and we identify what your negative belief is, it's like a tiny little package. And then we do bilateral stimulation until all of a sudden, boop, it releases. And then how it's stored in our memory shifts, because when we have traumatic events, they stay fresh in more of our present short-term memory, right? But it's supposed to get filtered back to long-term memory, and it's supposed to like go to where you belong. Like that was something that happened to me then. And so when trauma gets stuck, it's like on a loop,
Mm.
right? Which is why we overthink so much and all of this type of thing. So EMDR just helps us reprocess those things so that they're not painful anymore.
So, I mean, it sounds incredible that working with eye movement and your feelings and your history and your trauma, it can all sort of work itself out and heal. What about, I know we're getting really deep, but what about people, particularly women who've had abuse in the past, which is pretty common, sexual abuse, and don't
Very common.
remember things? Can you use
Mhm.
EMDR to pull those memories out of them?
So this is an amazing question. My answer is complex. So a couple of things. I have treated a lot of sexual abuse in my career, including the most heinous forms that you can imagine. And earlier in my career, I used a lot of EMDR and I would combine parts work, internal family systems work, like connecting with those younger inner children, right? Like the wounded child and the angry teenager and that kind of thing. And I would get decent results. When someone can't remember, but they can feel a stress response in their body, if we follow the body, just what the body says, you still can unhook some memories, even if you don't have a picture memory of it. But many of our traumas happen before we have picture memory, pre-verbal even, right? Like sometimes bad things happen to us before we've even learned how to speak. And so this is how I stumbled across homeopathy, Dr. Meg, because when I hit walls clinically, I'm like, oh, no, I'm not going to stand for this, right? Like we got to break through these walls. And so I just keep adding modalities and adding modalities. So the more you can help the nervous system relax and feel safe, then the more we can process things. But when I stumbled across homeopathy, what I was able to understand and facilitate for my clients is that we can unlock those memories. We can help the body feel very quickly safer to process. We don't actually have to revisit every freaking memory. We just have to get the energy unblocked enough that we can process and release. And so, yeah, it's an art, right?
Yeah.
It's an art and a
Yeah.
science. It's it's both things. But yes, the answer is yes, we can do that.
Now, I know that there are going to be a lot of women who are listening to this are feeling a little overwhelmed. And that's why I've sort of backed you up a little bit. Wait a minute, EMDR. But I think what you're really saying, and I want you to correct me if I'm wrong, is a lot of what you do on your podcast, Dear Divorce Diary, is that you help women who are going through a current trauma post-divorce sort of say, okay, I'm in a lot of pain. My pain is coming out in all different ways, in my mind, in my body, in dissociation, whatever. And so your approach is to say, okay, I don't want to oversimplify, but this is how my brain is working. Is it I'm going to approach this on many different levels. First of all, we're going to fuse your mind, your feelings, and your body back together. Okay, so we're going to reintegrate that, which blows your mind enough anyway. And then we're going to help work with you about what the roots of your pain. Now that you can feel your pain and you know it's in there, okay, and it's overwhelming to your body. So we're going to help you do that. And then we're going to also teach you that your nervous system and your thoughts are overloaded.
Right.
Just everything's overloaded. And so we're going to help all different states
unburden.
Yep. So we're going to help different states of your states isn't a good different levels of your body. Okay, sort of calm down and to be able to release these things. And that's the healing of a sort of a grieving process. Because we started off talking about divorced moms. And it seems to me that these modalities would work very well for a divorced mother because she's got everything going on.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. I mean, one of the things we developed this year was, a quiz on the intersection of your nervous system and your hormones and your grief, because those three things are what women who are going through divorce are struggling with. And then you add some perimenopause or some menopause to that, like God bless, right? So
Yeah.
And we really pride ourselves on being sort of a turnkey stop and that was one of the inspirations for the podcast, our programming, our products, because who has time to go to acupuncture and the chiropractor and the therapist and the functional medicine doctor and the hormone specialist? It's overwhelming is the word that you used, right? Is spot on. And so we really pride ourselves on offering all of those integrated tools in one place as best we can virtually.
Have you written a book?
I haven't.
Come on now.
I know. Thanks for the encouragement.
Okay. Okay. So there's one lady out there, freshly divorced. She's got some kids. She feels overwhelmed. What do you want her to know? You can only tell her one thing. What do you want her to know? That's one of the most important things.
I'm going to tell her, but she's going to say, no, but Dawn, you don't know my story. But I am telling you, the thing I want you to know, love, is everything you want is possible. And the reason most people don't get it is because they quit. They give up and they do not believe that it is possible. But it is. It is absolutely possible. The solutions are out there. They are not always expensive. They are available to you. But most women, they pray and they manifest and they pray and they manifest. And then the solution comes. But the thing is that the solution is, it's beyond where you are right now. You know what I mean? Like sometimes we're so stuck in the problem that when the solution arrives, we're like, no, but I don't have the time, or I don't have the money, or I don't have the understanding, or I'm too tired, or whatever, right? And we say no to the solution, but the solution is always going to stretch us. It's always going to stretch us. And most of the time, women quit because they can't tolerate feeling their pain and they can't believe in themselves enough. So cut that crap out.
You can tolerate it. You know, sometimes kids will say to me, or teenagers, I can't face it. I can't face it. I said, yes, you can, because it's already happened.
Yeah.
You know, the trauma's already happened. So by talking about it, it's not going to happen again.
That's right. That's right.
It's done. It's over. My guest has been Dawn Wiggins. She's a licensed therapist, a homeopath, an integrative healer, and she founded the Different D Word and is host of the great podcast, Dear Divorce Diary. I love the names. I love the names. You know, Dawn, this has been so great, and it's just opened up so many questions that I have. It's awesome. And I'm sure a lot of our listeners have questions. Where can they find your podcast?
Anywhere you find podcasts, you know, Apple Podcasts, yeah, Spotify. Yeah.
Do you have a website?
Yep, mycoachdawn.com.
Mycoachdawn, DAWN.com.
That's right.
Well, Dawn, this has just been great. It's been so much fun. I'm going to be thinking about the interview for the rest of the night, unpacking all the things that
I
you
love that.
It's really wonderful. And I'm sure that's a lot of what you do is that you really want to get people thinking but I love that the hope that you give people. It's, look, you can do this and you can overcome all of this pain. So, and I would just encourage mothers out there, you know, you can't help your kids overcome the pain until you know what it's like. So do it. What did you say, Dawn, that was like,
oh yeah, like cut that crap out.
cut that crap out. Get some healing. So thank you so much. I really appreciate you being here. Hey parents, I'm Dr. Meg Meeker, and if you're ready for real solutions to your parenting problems from a pediatrician, join my Parenting Great Kids community today.
There's a reason so many parents trust Dr. Meg Meeker. Now her courses, parenting forum, and trusted answers are all in one place, the PGK Insider Community. Join free at meekerparenting.com.